Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Donny van der Beek wants to quit Manchester United after one season due to lack of game time. Donny van der Beek is set for showdown talks with Ed Woodward regarding his future. Donny van der Beek has only started 2 games in the Premier League this season. Most of his appearances have come from the bench. Earlier on this season, Solskjaer made an admission saying that Donny van der Beek is unhappy at the club due to his lack of game time, but he promised him more game time at Man United. He is out with a muscular injury at the moment, so I think he's missed our last 7 games. We got him in a deal worth £40 million from Ajax last summer. We paid £35 million up front and there was £5 million in add-ons. Van der Beek's under contract with Man United until 2025. He's versatile, he can play in 3 different roles. You can put him as a box-to-box midfielder, that was his predominant position at Ajax. You can also put him as a number 10 and you can put him out wide. But I said Solskjaer needs to use him more because he's actually a very, very good player. Back in January, ESPN were saying that we rejected several loan offers for Van der Beek. We was reluctant to let him go. Ronald de Boer actually urged Van der Beek to leave the club to boost his chances for the Euros. So that's the latest news on him. Now, according to Gazzetta dello Sport, Man United are the clear favourites to sign Fiorentina defender Nikola Milenkovic. He's already packing his bags, ready for a move to the Premier League, and he's turned down a new contract at Fiorentina. He's valued at £30 million. Liverpool have also expressed an interest. Fiorentina got Nikola Milenkovic back in 2017. They paid just £5 million for him from Partizan. He's under contract with Fiorentina until 2022. He's 23 years of age, so still very young, got a lot of development in him. Can play as a centre-back or a right-back. So would you take him at Manchester United? Now, you know the news on Erling Haaland from Borussia Dortmund. Erling Haaland is our centre-forward transfer priority. Now, reportedly, Erling Haaland is demanding wages of £350,000 a week from his next club. Borussia Dortmund have given us an update on Erling Haaland's future. Borussia Dortmund's sporting director Michael Zorg says Borussia Dortmund are prioritising finishing in the top 4 in order to keep Haaland. Now, it would be very, very good if Man United signed Haaland because he's a type of player that would assure us goals, and he's still young and he's got a lot of development in him. And plus Solskjaer knows the player well. Solskjaer was the one that gave Erling Haaland his debut at just the age of 16 at Mulder. And back in December 2019, Solskjaer and Woodward went to Norway to meet up with Erling Haaland to negotiate a possible move to Man United. Earlier on this season, Solskjaer said he was following Erling Haaland's progress, and he said he was keeping in touch with Erling Haaland. But there has been so many clubs in for him. The Daily Mail recently said that Man City were leading the race. Chelsea have said they're convinced they can get him. Bayern Munich have refused to rule out a move. Liverpool have been interested. I think Dortmund are demanding in the excess of £100 million. He does have a release clause, but that doesn't become active until next year. His agent Mino Raiola said a few weeks ago that there's around 6 Premier League clubs that can afford him. But since his arrival at Dortmund, he has been a revelation. He's been at Dortmund around 15 months now. Dortmund paid just £17 million for him, and he's got a contract with Dortmund until 2024. This year's summer transfer window is the biggest in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's managerial career because we do need to make signings. I'm expecting us to make around 3 or 4 signings in the summer. A new centre forward and a new centre back are the 2 priorities. Solskjaer's set to have his final say on our transfer incoming deals. And it says we're set for a transfer summit this week. I'm expecting Solskjaer to get the backing he deserves in the summer. Because obviously we've got a new director of footballing in John Murtough. He's our first ever director of football, and I did say, didn't I, that's one of the structural changes that we need at the club. We know we was in for a director of football for a while. But the good news is as well, from Man United perspective, John Murtough knows the club inside out because he's been at Man United for like 8 years. And plus, we've got Darren Fletcher, who's our technical director, and he knows the club through thick and thin because he was a Man United player for 2 decades. You've obviously got Michael Carrick, that's part of the club, and he knows the club through thick and thin. Kieran McKenna's there. The summer transfer window will be Solskjaer's 5th transfer window as permanent Man United manager. So far, he's endured 4 transfer windows. And he has made some good signings. He's spent almost £300 million. He's brought players like Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire in. Brought players like Bruno Fernandes in. Brought Odin Ighalo in on loan. But Ighalo's no longer at the club now. He left in January. And he also brought the likes of Donny van der Beek in, Alex Telles, Edison Cavani, Amad Diallo Traore and Facundo Pellistri. Obviously, we loaned Facundo Pellistri out. But as yet, Solskjaer hasn't got all the players that he wanted to recommend in. But Woodward has come out several times to show his support for Ole, and he did say towards the end of last year he will back him with a long-term plan centred around summer transfer windows and even enjoying them bad periods. Woodward assured that Solskjaer's job was safe. But I've been very critical of the board for a long time, and so too have a lot of Man United fans, because the board's been one of the biggest issues at the club for several years, reflecting how poor our recruitment policy's been. We've also overpaid for players. And the managers that we've had haven't got the players that they wanted to recommend in. Woodward's been part of the club for several years. He's been at United since 2012. The Glazers have been with us since 2005. As you all know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has agreed to sign a new contract worth 9 million a year. So he's being given a pay rise. Sources at Old Trafford have said that talks are set to begin any day on the new deal, because later on this month Solskjaer will enter the final year of his 3-year contract. Earlier on this season it said that Solskjaer's future was in doubt because he admitted that nobody had spoke to him over a new contract. It said we'd actually wait until the end of the season to begin contract negotiations with Ole. But looking at it, I think he does deserve a new contract reflecting on the progress he's made. Like I've said already, I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the long-term manager for Man United, but I hope I'm wrong. You know, there's a lot of Man United fans that have been demanding Solskjaer out of the club. Maybe there's still some Man United fans that are Ole in. But he has been criticised a lot of Solskjaer. There's obviously main explanations behind it. You know, Solskjaer must win a trophy at Man United this year. You know, I'm saying the exact same thing as what Gary Neville said. Because if we win a trophy, that marks progress. And Solskjaer has not yet won a trophy as Man United manager. And he's been Man United manager over 2 years. We haven't won a trophy since 2017. And that's nowhere near good enough to our standards. A club of our stature need to be winning trophies. You know, the FA Cup is a chance of a trophy. And the Europa League is a chance of a trophy. Top 4 is our aim in the Premier League. I can assure now we will finish in the top 4, reflecting on that 1-0 win against West Ham. But it's still not fully guaranteed as yet. I've told you what will represent a good season for Man United. You know, we finish second this season and we win a trophy. That'll represent a good season for Man United, and then that'll give us something to build on going on into next season. This is Solskjaer's second full season at the club. And I did say, you know, this season was always going to be a big season for him. Told you my 2 big concerns about Solskjaer, his decision making. Because in a lot of his games at Man United he's been tactically naive, especially in a lot of the big games. But there's been some games where he has showed tactical flexibility. But he's got to do that persistently, and he hasn't got a proven pedigree as a manager, so that's my other concern about him. But reflecting how long Solskjaer's been at the club, he has gained some managerial experience, and you know, he has learnt quite a bit on the job. Before he was with us, he was at Molde. He won a few Norwegian titles at Molde, but they're not a big club. And before he was at Molde, he was at Cardiff, and his record at Cardiff was absolutely disastrous. But we've got to credit Solskjaer in quite a few aspects. You know, we're second in the Premier League. At one point he got us top of the Premier League. That's when we was in the title race. But we had a period where we dropped too many points. You know, we've got a fantastic away record in the Premier League. We haven't lost away from home in the Premier League for over a year. So we're unbeaten in our last 22 Premier League away games. You know, Solskjaer's got us to the FA Cup quarter-finals, got us to the Europa League last 16, got us to the EFL Cup semi-final this season, lost 2-0 to City. You know, did well last season in his first full season at the club. Got us to 3 semi-finals. So far in total he's got us to 4 semi-finals. Has not yet got to an actual final though as Man United manager. He got us qualification for the Champions League and he got us a 3rd place finish. And we did go on a 19-game unbeaten run in all competitions last season. We was 14 unbeaten in the Premier League. And we've enjoyed some very good periods under Ollie where we have seen consistency, and there's been some games in them good periods where he's got the best out of the team and he's improved certain players. You've probably got to say that Solskjaer is the best manager since Ferguson. We have been playing catch-up for the last 8 years, but we have made mistakes in the last 8 years or so, and that's one of the main explanations why we haven't been as consistent as we'd like to have been. In the last 8 years, we've had different managers with different philosophies. In recent years, like I've mentioned already, we've overpaid for players. We spent over £1 billion in the last 8 years. We've brought around 37 players in since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. The managers we sacked since Ferguson was David Moyes. We sacked him after 10 months. He enjoyed the shortest tenure at the club. He's the worst manager we've ever had. We finished 7th under the Moyes era. That's the lowest we've finished in the Premier League era. We sacked Louis van Gaal after 2 years, despite him winning the FA Cup. And we sacked Jose Mourinho after 2.5 years. We had one good season under Mourinho because he won the Europa League, the League Cup in his first season, and the Community Shield if you want to count it. And he got a 2nd in his first season. But I'll give you the reasons it didn't work out under Mourinho is because he had bad disputes with the board, bad disputes with the top players, and the board just weren't backing the signings that he wanted to recommend in. But like I've said already, no one is going to replicate what Sir Alex Ferguson did at the club. Because obviously Ferguson brought success to the club. Won 30 odd trophies, including 13 Premier League titles. And Alex Ferguson enjoyed a 27-year tenure at Man United, so he was a long-serving manager. But he didn't settle in straight away, Ferguson, because he didn't win out in his first 4 years at the football club. We are going to sell players in the summer transfer window. Like I updated you yesterday, Solskjaer's planning to sell 4 players to bolster our transfer budget, and he's hoping to raise as much as £60 million. I think we'll sell more than 4 players in the summer, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think there's a good chance that Juan Mata will leave the club in the summer. Because Juan Mata doesn't get in our team now, and Juan Mata's current contract expires in the summer. These and options trigger his contract for a further year. Earlier on this season, Solskjaer said he wasn't surprised that Juan Mata was linked with a move away from the football club. I heard that 3 Italian clubs were in for him. Earlier on this season, Juan Mata rejected an £18 million a year contract offer to play in Saudi Arabia. Juan Mata's had a good career with Man United though. He's been at the club over 6 years. We got Juan Mata in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2014. Now Edison Cavani, there's a good chance he's going to depart the club in the summer. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did recently say that Cavani is closer to Boca Juniors than Manchester United. But prior to that, he said his future's not been decided. Cavani's father came out not so long ago and said Cavani is unhappy at the club and he's not comfortable in England and he wants to leave. Reports in Argentina said Cavani has decided to leave Man United after just a season and he wants to go to Boca Juniors on a 3-year contract. But earlier on this season, it said Edison Cavani wants to stay at Man United beyond this season, and Solskjaer said he was set for contract extension talks. Cavani's made a fantastic impact since he's come in. He hasn't played recently because he's been out of injury, but I think he could be coming back soon. We got him on a free transfer last summer. He signed a 1-year contract with Man United with an option of a 2nd year. There's a lot of United fans that are saying we should sell Anthony Martial in the summer. Because Anthony Martial has been out of form for the vast majority of this season. He's had chances, but he hasn't converted them. He's been out with a hip injury recently. Had an injury just before that as well. But Solskjaer's said earlier on this season he's backing Martial to rediscover his form. And he said he's been impressed with his work rate. Now, it did mention recently that Erling Haaland and Harry Kane are our two top targets if we decide to sell Martial. Martial was good last season and he was good in his debut season under Louis van Gaal. Martial has been at the club over 5 years. I think it was last season Solskjaer giving that number 9 shirt. Matic, I think there's a good chance we'll sell him in the summer because he isn't one of our first choice midfielders, but he still gets his chances. As you all know, I've always had my strong reservations about Matic because he's always been a slow player and he's ageing up. He's been at the club almost 4 years. We got him in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2017. Like I said, Donny van de Beek now wants to quit. I don't blame him, to be honest with you, because he's not getting the chances he deserves. Do you think there's still a chance that Paul Pogba will leave the football club in the summer? Paul Pogba has had a long-running transfer saga. He's been relentlessly linked with a move to Real Madrid. PSG have been in for him, and his former club Juventus have been in for him. Pogba enjoyed 4 very good years with Juventus before he rejoined Manchester United. I don't want him to go now in the summer because before Paul Pogba got this thigh injury, we was getting the best out of him. The last game Paul Pogba played was a 3-3 draw with Everton. You can say he has been a big miss because we do lack creativity in that midfield without him and we are far too defensive. Pogba could be back for the Milan game in the second leg, which is good news from a Man United perspective. Earlier on this season, Pogba had an ankle injury and he was out for the vast majority of last season with an ankle injury. There was narratives coming out a few weeks ago saying that Pogba is open to staying at Man United after making a transfer U-turn and he's willing to discuss a new contract. That's what it said. Solskjaer suggested earlier on this season that Pogba could sign a new contract because Solskjaer said he's happy at the club. Mino Raiola is desperate to get his client out of the football club in the summer. Mino Raiola said earlier on this season he's got no intentions of destabilising his client's season at Man United. And he did make an admission saying that he's working quietly on Paul Pogba's transfer to avoid offence because Mino Raiola doesn't have a good relationship with Man United and he has been criticised a lot. He made an announcement back in December regarding Pogba and Solskjaer was furious with Mino Raiola's announcement. Pogba's under contract with Man United till June 2022 because earlier on this season we triggered that 1-year extension on his contract. As it stands at the moment, Pogba's our most expensive signing. We paid £89 million for him and this is his 5th season at the football club since he rejoined. So there you go. Phil Jones, I want him to leave this year. Phil Jones doesn't get in R11. Phil Jones has been out with injury for over a year. Phil Jones is the only outfield player that's still here from the Sir Alex Ferguson era. This is his 10th season at Man United, so he has been a long servant. There's a good chance that we'll sell David De Gea in the summer, so we can make Dean Henderson our number 1 goalkeeper. recent narrative said we're willing to listen to offers for De Gea. We sell De Gea in the summer, I reckon we'll get around £50 million. Hasn't been playing in recent games because not so long ago he was out due to personal reasons. But as you all know now, he's back in Manchester and he has been self-isolating. It says we've been looking at quite a few goalkeepers who could possibly replace De Gea, but we don't need a new goalkeeper, we just need to put Dean Henderson as our number 1. De Gea has been a long servant at the football club. This is his 10th season at Manchester United. You know, he's been with us since the Ferguson era. You know, De Gea's won everything domestically at the club. He's made over 500 appearances in all competitions. A few years ago, he was regarded as the best goalkeeper in the world. But in the last couple of years, he's made mistakes. So reflecting on that, he has become a liability. The Sun said not so long ago that De Gea was wanted by PSG because Pochettino's looking for a number 1 to replace Keylor Navas. But yeah, De Gea's on $375,000 a week and he's got 2 years left on his contract. I think we'll be also looking to get rid of Lingard permanently, looking to get rid of Delors permanently as well. So there you go. By the way, on my next video, I will be giving you my starting 11 prediction for our game against Milan. I was supposed to do it on this video, but with the news coming out about Van der Beek and Nikola Milenkovic, I thought, you know, I'd do this first before I did my starting 11 prediction. But yeah, the big game against AC Milan at the San Siro. It's the Europa League last 16 second leg. Obviously, we drew the first leg at Old Trafford 1-1. And it was a very average performance by Man United. For large periods of the first leg, AC Milan were in total control. You know, they had some very good chances. You know, they had 2 disallowed goals. One from an offside from Raphael and the other one from a handball from Kessia. The only positive from Man United perspective in the first leg was Amad Diallo Traore coming on and scoring his first goal for the club. It was a very, very good header and it was a lovely through ball by Bruno Fernandes. Harry Maguire missed a sitter in the first leg, hit the post from a yard out, the worst miss I've seen in football history. James had a good chance, put it wide. Martial had a good chance, produced a good save from Donnarumma. But certainly Henderson should have kept out AC Milan's equaliser in injury time, because Henderson got a hand to it. So we should have won the first leg even though we didn't play well. The good news is though, Solskjaer said that 5 injured players could return for the second leg at the San Siro. And that's Paul Pogba, Anthony Martial, Edison Cavani, Donny van der Beek and De Gea. But we're coming into this game on the back of a 1-0 win against West Ham. That's back-to-back wins in the Premier League for Man United, and reflects on that win, that assures us a top 4 finish. AC Milan, they recently lost 1-0 to Napoli. They are sitting second in the Serie A. Milan have still got some injuries. They had quite a lot of injuries in the first leg against us, but some of them players that were injured in the first leg are now back for Milan. I think Calahanglu's back. Theo Hernandez is back. I think Rebic's also back. But AC Milan have still got Zlatan Ibrahimovic out with injury. Mandzukic is still out with injury. I think Ben Asa is still out with injury. Roman Aglu, however you pronounce his name, he's recently sustained an injury. Malindia, he's out with injury. So there you go. So anyway guys, that's everything to update you today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.